Hey INFP, in today's video we're going to talk about how you can get along with all of the 16 personalities. How can you befriend an Istj or an Estp, and how can you connect with somebody like an Intj? Let's talk about that in today's video. What can you expect from the 16 personalities? What are the challenges? What are the benefits of each pairing in a friendship or in a dating setting? Starting with other INFPs. As an INFP, you will find other INFPs to serve as ideal playmates and a source of emotional connection. INFPs are people you can talk with about anything in any way that you like. You don't have to follow a certain structure. You can just play around, jump from topic to topic, and share or express any feeling or sensation or experience that you have at the time that you have. And you'll feel that they support what you do, agree with you, sympathize with you, and feel harmoniously in sync with you, and that's something very positive. On the other hand, you can find INFPs to struggle when it comes to professional or social struggles, right? It might be hard to decide who should take initiative to go out, who should call who should message who first, and often it can feel like while you really enjoy connecting with each other, you'd like the other person to sometimes show a little bit more initiative, or you'd like them to be a bit more strong in themselves, or you'd like them to sometimes challenge you a little bit more. What about an Estj? Well, Estjs serve as that challenging, social, and as a bit more of a logical or intellectual playmate. Here you'll find that the Estjs tend to be quite serious, and that they tend to be people that are quite tough-minded, right? And this can be helpful because they can push you to excel in a career setting, they can motivate you, they can empower you. They tend to be people that encourage you to work harder, to put in more effort, and they show you that it's meaningful or that it's more important to show your best foot in career settings and in social settings. Estjs also tend to be people that get you out into the world. They'll get you connected to people. They'll let you network with people that they know. They'll help you if you have ideas or plans, and you probably do have ideas and plans because you're a creative person. And they'll help you spring those ideas to motion. On the other hand, you might feel that the Estj struggles to validate you emotionally. If you're having a low day or if you're struggling, the Estj can come off as a bit unsympathetic. And if you sometimes want to relax or unwind or just do something fun, you might find that the Estj might be too serious or too focused on work and other matters. Oh my god, this video was a difficult one to make. It took a lot of research, a lot of writing, and of course a lot of talking. So what about maybe an Istp? Well, you'll find that Istps are people that are highly skilled, and they tend to be talented in many different fields. Istps seem to love being good at things. Whatever they do, they want to be the best at it. They want to excel in sports, they want to be good at board games, they want to be good at work, they want to have different talents, they want to do it really well. They're very meticulous too. They tend to spend a long time to sit with something to make sure they figured it all out. But at the same time, like the INFP, they tend to serve as a playful and recreational source. You might find them inspiring because they are so good at everything that they do, that they know how to do things, they know how to fix things, they know if something is not working, you can always come to them and they'll help you figure it out. But you might also find them to be a bit too calm. Sometimes you might find that they are too quiet, too much in their own mind, that when you'd like to talk, you don't know what to talk about because they're not opening up to you, they're not talking to you, they're not sharing, they're not expressing themselves so naturally. And so you might find that, they don't take as much initiative as you'd like them to, they don't assert themselves as much as you'd like them to. And so it might be like you sit there together in quiet and you have a good time, but you might sometimes want to say something and you might feel like the other person doesn't really say anything. And yeah, are they upset with me, or are they quiet, or are they just content? How do you know? So what about an ENFJ? ENFJs could be people that serve as an interesting pairing, to be sure. So often it's considered to be one of the more inspirational pairings. The ENFJ excels in initiative. They tend to get things going. They tend to be fast-paced. They tend to do everything in a very quick setting. They tend to speak fast. They tend to be very engaged, very passionate about what they do. They tend to have a lot of energy. And that can be very stimulating to be around. Such a person that will naturally express themselves, sing or perform or engage in artistic expression or acting just out of who they are. But you'll also find them to be a little bit more professional. So while sometimes you are more playful in your expression and creativity, the Enfj seems to be very driven to use their creativity professionally, and so they are often involved in different forms of non-profits or activism or in social groups and things like that. And you'll find that, while they do a lot, they're constantly busy, and so they never have time to just sit down and just be and just relax, because they're constantly thinking about their creative projects and things that they want to be doing. And yeah, while it can be very motivating and very inspiring to be around such a person professionally, it sometimes can be that, you'd like them to relax a bit more, to slow down. They don't always have to impress everyone. They don't always have to be the most nice. They don't always have to get along with everyone. Sometimes it's okay to just, sit down and be and allow yourself to be yourself and just talk and connect on a more one-to-one setting in a more calm and peaceful manner. And as an INFP, that's what you show the Enfj. Now, what about an ENFP? ENFPs are in many ways what an INFP is, but on the outside. And so you'll find that the ENFP will often get you out of your comfort zone. And that can be great for some time. It can be really fun to follow an ENFP on a crazy adventure, or to go out together or do something fun or stimulating. And you'll find it to be very enriching and very inspiring. But you'll also find it to be draining, of course. As an introvert, you might find what they do to be a bit exhausting and overstimulating. And you might find that you get overstimulated faster. And if you get overwhelmed, you might find that, for example, you get annoyed or frazzled, or that you get more quiet or more short. And the ENFP might find that when you do that, maybe you're not listening to them, you don't care, you're upset with them, they did something wrong, they don't know what. And in this case, often it's good to remember and to recognize that your energies are sometimes in a different state, and to let that be, and to be comfortable also relaxing around the other person. You don't have to go along with everything they say. You don't have to do everything they want to do. You don't have to follow on every adventure, but you appreciate the ones that you can join in for when you have the energy and time for it, right? And here it's also a great opportunity for play and also for action, but also the ENFP is a person that's going to be emotionally there for you, and a person that's going to listen to you and going to support you. So also recognize this, that if you let them know about how you feel, they'll respect you for it, and they'll listen to you, and they'll sympathize with your situation. Now, what about an IST? ISTJs serve as calm, stable, professional, and in many ways practical figures in life. They can help you in your practical goals, in getting organized, in helping you establish a healthy routine. They can be the ones that support you when you're in need of structure, or when you're in a mess or in a difficult situation and you find it hard to clear things out. Perhaps you find that you have so many ideas, so many thoughts, so many things in your head that you don't know where to begin. ISTJs tend to know what's important. They tend to ask you the right questions. So what's the value of this? How are you going to use it? When are you going to start on this? Often the ISTJ sets accountability and helps you to hold yourself accountable to what you say, helping you think about what's most realistic, what's most possible in the near future, and what you can get started working on right away. The ISTJ can also be a person that in many ways asks the right critical questions. And while sometimes that might feel like they're dismissing you or that they don't agree with you, remember that ISTJs do this to help. They do this to provide helpful feedback and support. They want to offer their experience, their knowledge, and what they have learned in the past to aid you in your situation, and you don't have to do what they say. It's just there to support you and create a supportive structure around you that you can use. You'll find ISTJs to be very dependable to be around. Now, what about ESTPs? Impossible, you might say. Well, actually, ESTPs can be very outgoing and fun people, and while often ESTPs are depicted online as bullies, most ESTPs are quite normal and quite common types that exist all around the world and that often serve a friendly role. ESTPs are social types, and beyond that, they're also very practical and down-to-earth types. Usually, they're no-fuss people. ESTPs are rarely going to be people that brag or try to impress you or try to show you up. They tend to be people that like to act, they like to do things, they like to get things going, and in most times, in most situations, ESTPs tend to be quite sociable. They tend to enjoy talking, connecting, they like to make you feel seen, they tend to be very attentive, they tend to be very good at listening, they tend to be people that like to help and support others. They tend to be often the backbone of the community in many ways in how they show up in day-to-day life, right? So if somebody needs something right now or requires spontaneity or requires action, ESTPs are usually the first to jump in. After all, they're considered to be the fireman type, right? Often they like to help and to show their energy and action and spontaneity and their resilience through different times. So if you're going through a difficult time or in a crisis, you can always expect the ESTP to be there for you. On a more challenging level, you might find ESTPs to sometimes be going too fast, to always be in a rush, to always want to do things, to not be able to relax. They might not always understand your more slow and more zen approach to life, and sometimes they might understand or struggle with your emotional side, struggling to show sensitivity to what you need and how you feel. The ESTP might just give you what they think straight, and they have no ill will with doing this. They don't try to hurt you, they're not trying to upset you. They're just speaking the way their mind thinks, and there's no negative intention or anger or hostility behind that. It's just them trying to give you some insight into their situation from their perspective. And if you don't agree, you don't have to listen to what they say. On the other hand, what about INFJ? It's said that INFJs and INFPs often serve as mentors to one another, depending on who's the most experienced. Often I see the INFJ as a more serious version of the INFP, while INFPs are more playful and have a lot of interest and tend to be quite varied and quite diverse. INFJs tend to be people that tend to be quite serious and quite focused on their goals. And so many INFPs will look at INFJs and say, hey, this is very inspiring. I wish I had the time and energy and patience to sit and work on this one idea for as long as they'd work on this. And they seem to be quite committed and quite set in what they do, in their values and in their beliefs and in their ideas. And I like to have that grit to do that as well. And that can be something you can learn from the INFJ and something the INFJ can help you with. On the other hand, INFJs are often overworked, they often stress themselves, they have high expectations on themselves, they tend to be perfectionistic. And so, to see an INFP that just playfully goes with the flow and takes things as they go and does what they want, that can be quite reinvigorating. To just feel like, hey, maybe I'm doing something wrong, maybe I should sometimes relax a bit more. Maybe if I go with the flow and allow things to happen in their own way and don't try to control everything, maybe things will be a bit easier for me and I'll be a bit more light and a little bit more happy. And yeah, that's very important. It's very important that we learn to balance our personality traits. While we should all allow ourselves to have our natural traits and passions, it's important to learn to integrate the other traits into our lives, at least so that they can serve as some kind of balancing anchor so that we don't completely capsize into the wrong end of the scale. The INTP is a mixed bag, and while the INTP is calm, chill, and easy to be around, and also quite fun and humorous and silly in many ways like the INFP, you'll find that the INTP and the INFP have a very intellectual pairing. The INTP and the INFP are likely to engage in philosophical discussions that carry far away and to talk about from topic to topic, jumping to this or that, or this possibility or that. But what you'll notice is this, that the INFP engaged personally in the topic, while the INTP engaged more detached in the topic. With that, you'll find INFPs to give their personal experiences and feelings about life and why we're here and what the universe is like and what they think the universe is. The INTP, on the other hand, will give a more critical, detached, and impassionate explanation. And you'll find then that maybe the INFP is a little bit more positive in their outlook towards the world, while the INTP is more critical, believing that there's no free will, believing that everything is deterministic, or so on and so forth. INFPs tend to embrace the individual spirit and freedom of choice in different things, while the INTP is a bit more skeptical, thinking, nah, I don't know if that's how it really works. So there is a bit of a clash there in terms of your philosophical worldview, but The INTP is, you're going to find somebody that really thinks things through. They're going to think very critically about the topic, and they're going to start with the most negative scenario and work their ways around that. Their goal is to solve problems, the problem of life, the problem of free choice, the problem or issues that exist in different philosophical traditions. And the INTP starts with the more negative or the more difficult decisions, the more dark choices that have pertain to moral philosophy and life. And the INFP tends to be more focused on the positive of what could be or what would be the ideal or what would be the utopian scenario or choice or situation. So while you're starting at it in different ends, trust that you both want to get to the same direction, which is towards truth and towards a better and more fulfilling way of looking at the world. Now, with the Esfj, you're going to find somebody that's going to be sharing with you a more emotional bond. On the other hand, the Esfj is very different to the INFP in many ways. The Esfj is well put together, clean-shaved, and social, and in many ways diplomatic in how they approach life. And in this way, they also tend to be very social and very presentable people. They want to get along with everyone. They want to be liked by everyone. And they want to be liked by you too, of course. They want to be your best friend. They want to be the person that you can talk to about anything. They want to be funny. They want to be charming. And they want to be seen as good-natured and moral people. Now, as an INFP, you look at things from a slightly different angle. While you both are and seek towards agreeableness, harmony, and in many ways towards a more optimistic and positive way of life, you'll find that INFPs look by introspecting and thinking about why they are the way that they are and who they are. And they are trying to find their own way of life, their own way of living, their own way of acting that will make them happy and set them free in many ways. The ESFJ will want to talk to people and meet interesting people that can tell them, interesting things. They want to know and befriend the scientists. They want to know and befriend every single person so that they can get all the insight on how to live and what to do and what the best way of life is. And ESFJs have very little filter in this, tending to agree with everyone and tending to see the value and benefit of every different choice and every different outcome. This is also why you'll find the ESFJs to be quite receptive to you and your unique ways. You'll find that you can be who you are around an ESFJ and they're not going to judge you for it. On the other hand, you'll also find that the ESFJs get you out into the world. They'll get you connected to people. They'll get you talking to others. They'll make you a part of their group. They'll make you feel invited and loud where they are and where they go. And that's something very nice for an INFP. Somebody that will call you and ask you to hang out. Somebody that will want to talk to you. Somebody that will be interested in what you have to say and will engage in you to speak with them, right? Now for the ISFP. ISFPs, like INFPs, are in many ways very similar. You share a calm and emotional and more playful approach to life. The only difference is that the ISFP goes more towards action while you go towards theory. You want to understand the patterns of why you do the things that you do and where you're headed in life and what your future is going to look like. The ISFP wants to get going on things, to get started, to take action. They want to be more spontaneous. They want to try out new things. They want to be in the moment and be surprised by what happens when it happens. And this desire to be surprised by things versus the desire to think about and understand what's going to happen ahead of when it happens is something that's going to set you apart slightly. Here, as a friend, you'll find ISFPs to be people that help you stop overthinking a situation and just go out and just do it. On the other hand, as an INFP, you can serve as a warning or cautionary force, reminding the ISFP when they're going to do something stupid or silly and helping them recognize that before they engage in or have a major accident. Then we have the ENTJ personality type, and you'll find ENTJs to be people that are going to be very proactive, very driven, and very ambitious people. And you're going to find that whenever you have a business idea or an artistic venture, or hobby, or passion that you engage in, the ENTJ is going to be your best friend when it comes to monetizing, marketing, and selling that idea to the world. They know what people want and how to make people want the things that you do. And they know how to get your things going. And they actually tend to enjoy it. They enjoy picking up people like you, unique people, individualists, people with cool ideas and artistic natures and passions and proclivities. And they like to find ways to make you valuable, to commodify you, to sell you to the world. And here you can have to think about, to which extent do I want to sell the things that I do, and to which extent do I want them to be just playful pastimes? Do I want to do what I do as a hobby or a playful expression, or do I want to do it to sell? Sometimes you'll find that, you do want to sell things, and you do want to make money for things, but not all the things. So it's very important here to set your boundaries, to remember that, I want to put this thing out to the world, but this thing I want to do for myself for a couple of years just because it feels right to do. And this is something I'm prepared to share with the world, but this is something I'd rather keep to myself. Allow yourself to have these boundaries when dealing with the ENTJ. Now, what about INTJs? I often see INTJs and INFPs connected together, and I think it's their shared need for calm and peace that can bring them together. If you've had a stressful life, INTJs are people that are quite chill to be around, but they're also people that tend to be quite responsible. And if you're looking for somebody to be responsible and stoic and strong for you as an INFP, INTJs are always going to be able to be that. INTJs, when they hear about your feelings, what your struggles are, think about what can be done and where you can go and how you can manage through that and what's the best way to organize life around your emotions. INTJs in that way think about how to use your emotions for proactive strategies. INFPs, on the other hand, tend to be very good to remind INTJs about where they're going in life and why they want to do the things that they want to do. INFPs often serve as counselors for the INTJs that often have very original minds and a lot of deep thoughts and a lot of ideas. And the INFPs tend to be people that can help them sort through and understand where all these ideas come from and why it made them think about these things. And in that sense, the INTJ might find that the INFP is a person that reminds them of the meaning of things and the beauty of things. And the aesthetical appeal of INFPs is quite big here. INFPs' aesthetic sense and emotional sense and ability to bring beauty around them and create beauty around them is very fulfilling for an INTJ. Now, what about the ESFP? ESFPs are going to be people that are very fun, playful, and free-spirited types. And their thirst for adventure and experience and going out can be something that can be nice once in a while for an INFP. Sometimes it can be fun to actually go out into a new situation or new experience. And as an INFP, often you spend a lot of time observing, reflecting, and pondering the mysteries of life. And maybe you want to write, maybe you want to draw, maybe you want to create something. But if you haven't had any experiences, you'll find that most of these things that you write and create are, not real experiences. It's not based on anything. You don't actually know what it's like to be there or to have done that or to experience that. And the ESFP will help you with doing that kind of research. ESFPs will help you do things that are uncomfortable for you, that are scary, that are a bit unnerving. But their free-spirited mindset and their can-do attitude and their anything goes, everything will be alright kind of mindset can be quite reassuring for an INFP. On the other hand, ESFPs tend to often jump from thing to thing and tend to be quite engaged and quite active people that often struggle to think about the future, don't really want to think about the future, don't really want to know about where they're going. And this can be a dark grey cloud in the distance for the ESFP, and INFPs can help ESFPs manage and understand that cloud. And INFPs have the ability to bring attention to difficulties that the ESFP might be experiencing. The ESFP doesn't think in difficulties. The ESFP thinks in, this cool new thing that I'm going to do, or this great thing that I'll have to do in life, And whenever they are distressed, their first thing to do is think of something fun they can do to avoid thinking about that thing that makes them distressed. But INFPs note this. I noticed you were a bit sad for a second there. What happened? What were you thinking about? And that can be something that ESFPs need once in a while. So, recognize that role that you can play with ESFPs. Now, with ISFJs, what you'll notice is that as an INFP, in many ways, ISFJs serve as a backup counselor. ISFJs tend to be natural counselors and therapists for people around them. Their dependable, calm, straightforward, no bullshit attitude to life is very positive and very refreshing. ISFJs tend to be people that help provide order and structure around you, help you manage day-to-day practices, and recognize, how many of the emotional existential dilemmas that INFPs feel might actually be based on pure practical problems. Where an INFP sees an existential crisis, the Isfj might see hunger or lack of sleep. And this kind of reassurance is very important, recognizing that, hey, I actually have to take care of my body, I have to listen to my body, I have to meet my physical needs, I have to provide an emotional support structure for myself. That's very important. On the other hand, INFPs help Isfjs to think of the bigger picture. INFPs help remind Isfjs about other things beyond these things. And INFPs can also help Isfjs see the more meditative practices and their benefit and their value. INFPs, for example, know how to engage in existential dialogues and how that can help a person. Isfjs might not understand or recognize why that's important or why we need to do these things. As practical psychologists, Isfjs tend to be people that are going to always be there and support you if you need anything through cooking or cleaning or in any form of practical caretaking. INFPs, on the other hand, tend to be more theoretical caretakers, and in many ways, INFPs also provide a sense of fun into the Isfj's life. Isfjs tend to be so focused on other people's needs that they forget to have fun and let go and lighten up, and INFPs do that in a very safe way because your way of play is very safe. INFP's way of asking questions and having fun is something that's very easy for the Isfj to go along with. Now, what about, finally, the ENTP personality type? ENTPs, you'll find, are people that are going to be very fun. They're creative, they're ideators, they're usually very good at language, they like intellectual conversations, they tend to have lots of ideas, and they tend to be quite engaged with challenging themselves and pushing themselves and growing themselves. They want to figure out everything, they want to know everything, they want to have the answer to everything. So of course that's super inspiring for an INFP. It's not like INFPs need to be the best at anything, but it can be stimulating to be around a person that, will always bring something new and varied and fresh to them. Oh, a new idea, a new book, a new source of inspiration, a new podcast. That could be interesting, that could be cool, that could be curious, that could be something I'd like to read, right? As an INFP, that must be super stimulating. On the other hand, ENTPs can be sometimes people that are so focused on, learning and figuring things out that they have this sense, where it's like, oh, I'm constantly learning new things, but I'm never going anywhere in my life. I never achieve anything tangible. I never really complete anything. I jump from project to project. I never finish anything. I never get started. I never see anything through to the end, right? And so it feels like you're constantly focusing on what's next without ever reaching an end point in life, right? And INFPs can help ENTPs recognize this tendency. So, yeah, that's super fascinating. But what about this other thing you used to be doing? Do you not care about that anymore? Or what? I understand you want to switch studies or try out this instead because that might be better for you. But what made you choose the first thing in the first place, right? Understanding these things, the ENTP can find INFPs to help them navigate these kinds of loops and spirals, right? Helping them recognize that, oh, this is a spiral. Whenever things get really difficult, or whenever I start getting bored, I immediately do something different. But maybe sometimes it's good to be bored. INFPs can help ENTPs recognize that sometimes it's good to be bored. It's when you're bored that your mind can truly be creative for its own sake, intrinsically. Here, in this state of mind, you can come up with your own ways to enrich your life and to have fun and to do something. Fun doesn't always have to be an external thing that you get by doing something in the external world. You can also have fun all by yourself, just by using your own thoughts and daydreaming and imagination. Now, who or what personality type is your best friend, INFP, and what do you like most about these types? Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching. See you all in the next video. Hey everyone, the name is Erik Thor, and in today's video we're talking about the INFP and the best friends for the INFP. Now, in this video I want to show you that every single personality type can be valuable and useful and important in your life as an INFP. You don't have to pick and select any person, you don't have to look for specifically one person to hang out with or to date. You can engage with every single person and have a meaningful and interesting conversation with everyone, provided that you know what questions to ask and that you respect the other person for what they are and that they, of course, respect you for what you are, right? If you appreciate this video and want more videos like this, please leave a like and subscribe, And once again, yeah, let's get on with the video.